Well, got another day. I gotta start fixing an engine here I want to get sold. I was told this ran. It didn't. And I could see one obvious issue was it had a really bad oil leak. So I already took it upon myself probably a year and a half ago to put a new pan gasket on it, checked everything out internally, didn't take the head off, and did my due diligence like I should have. Took the carburetor apart, and the float was bad. I have all the parts right there. But I went to crank it up, there was no compression, so we're going to do a valve job on this one. See what we can or can't find on there. I got some parts ordered because we're going to need some gaskets. And I got this one out of a scrap pile, believe it or not. Still has the fuel line left on it, but these carburetors are no longer available, and the throttle shaft is actually pretty tight on this one, so I'm going to save this carb body. I'm not sure if this one's any better, I don't know. Yeah, this throttle shaft's pretty tight too. I got some wrenches here. Not sure it's a half or 9/16. Nope, half. Got them in the first try. I was on purpose. No, I'm kidding. Carb looks pretty clean on the inside. Yeah. This carb might actually be in good shape yet. Let me turn this down a little bit. There you go. Yeah, the carb's actually pretty clean on this one, so I'm going to start taking this apart. The intake manifold gasket was already included with the kit. Kind of hard to see with the reflection. Right there, you can see the carb gasket right there. There's another style intake manifold gasket right there. This helps baffle some air, and it blocks this hole up here. So we'll make sure we put the correct gasket on there. And I think the air filter is still okay on this one. I don't think that was bad. Yeah, that doesn't look bad. We'll leave that one alone. So let me start taking this apart, and we'll start doing a valve job on it, and we'll take a look at what the cylinder looks like as well. So to get the head off, I'm going to grab my impact. We're going to have to take these two bolts out, these two bolts out, and I don't know if there's any others on the side. Nope, nothing over here. So we're going to get this one cover off first, then we'll undo the bolts and get that off. I don't have to take the muffler off, at least I'm hoping I don't have to, because you never know how rusty those bolts are. But you can see it, this motor doesn't have a crazy number of hours on it because it still has some galvanizing on the muffler. So I'm hoping everything's in good shape inside of it. So as far as I know, all I had was a bad oil leak when I got it and no compression, so we're going to have to find out why. So let's... I'm hoping this comes off. And there we go. Paint's actually in good shape on both of them. Oop. Okay, should be able to hold that out of the way and pry that up. Look at that. I may have been in here, but it's been a while. Get that graphite gasket off. I wish I could still buy those steel head gaskets, but they're no longer available. So, let's see what we've got in here. Cylinder is nice and clean. No hone marks really visible anymore. but it was well taken care of. It's had regular oil changes. There's some hone marks on the very top of the cylinder where the rings didn't reach. No carbon lip on it. There's not an excessive amount of oil in here, so it's not burning oil. So no issues there. The top of the piston looks pretty clean. I don't know how good you can see that. Nope, you can't see it. Let me get the camera up close. That's the only spot where I can see some honing lines, but everything else is smooth. No bad scoring anywhere. Nothing I can feel with a finger. It's all nice and clean. And there's a closer look at the head. The head's pretty clean. Not showing any signs of excessive oil consumption. Let me put you back in the stand. We'll see if either these valves are tight or not sealing, causing a lack of compression. Okay. This valve's open. I'm going to turn it until it's closed. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but both of these valves are rocking right at TDC. So I know my cam timing is good because this valve overlap is right at TDC with the piston. So that valve is spinning, so we've got a problem with the valve clearance on that because that should be closed. This will be combustion, and that should not spin, and it's spinning. Neither of these should spin. Looks like the intake is nice and tight. No issues there, so looks like it's our exhaust that's causing our compression leak. But we'll start taking the carb off and get at the valve assembly and start popping them out and see what the seats and valve faces look like. I'm hoping I can get that out. I think I'm going to take this blower cover off. Get that out of my... No, I can't because the dipstick tube is connected to that, so we'll leave that be. But there's a bolt in here I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get at because of this heat shield. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to take the exhaust off. And the carb is all one piece, and I got to get to the valves in here, so I'm going to have to order some more gaskets, unfortunately. Hopefully I can find the exhaust gasket in my parts, but I don't know. I think that's going to be a 1/2 inch. Let's try that. Hey, that one came loose. We're going to tap that with a hammer. Hopefully that'll knock it loose. Grab my a regular open end, work that back and forth so I don't snap it. It's starting to move anyway, but I can't feel how tight it is in the threads with the impact. So yeah, I'm gonna have to wiggle this back and forth until it comes out because it's wanting to gall. Probably gonna have to put a, what do you call it, a helicoil in this one, unfortunately. So I'm not gonna bore you as I take this apart. I'm gonna put you guys on pause. Sorry. Well, it came out and it doesn't seem to have messed up the threads too bad. Let me see if I can get a light on for you so you guys to see that a little bit better. Oh, come on, focus already. Really? You can see the gull right there. So, but the threads aren't that bad on the engine or the bolt. So I should be able to clean that out with a tap. All the head bolts look nice and clean. Even the bolts that came out were all clean. So let me grab a 3/8 and we'll get this carb off. Probably take a glance on the condition of the throttle linkages in the carburetor and everything, or not the carburetor, the wiring here. See, that's all good. It's off. Now I need a 5/16. Get this off. I'm gonna have to cut a zip tie. It's not the best tool for this, but it'll work. Someone wrapped this up with some electrical tape in a couple spots, so we're probably gonna have to take that apart and see why it's wrapped with electrical tape. Might have to heat shrink something. I'm hoping I have a tool to remove those pins from the plug, but I don't know if I do for sure. Gotta unhook the crankcase vent. We can unhook pull the choke rod out, get that out of the way. And then turn the carburetor, and then we can unhook the governor linkage and the dampener spring off of that. So that's all good. And you know what? I think we gotta leave good enough alone on that because that's got quite a bit of electrical tape on it all the way up underneath the flywheel. I'll run a resistance check on it. Make sure there's no ground faults. Leave that alone. Now I can take that valve pocket, the valve cover off as soon as I find my 5/16, which I had just had in my hand. Still recording, right? Yep. Move along pretty good. Try to be careful prying on this so you don't bend it. You look at the check valve here. It's nice and flat, doesn't have any kind of bubbling to it, no cracks, no breaks in it. It's got the spring tension on it like it's supposed to have. The rubber here is still pliable and good, no issues there. The gasket, surprisingly, isn't going to fight me to clean it all off. It came off without leaving any residue on either side, which is nice. So now I can grab a feeler gauge. I'm going to put you guys on pause while I run some specs on, or check the clearance on the valve tappets. Or do I zoom you guys in so you can actually see where I'm poking? I think we'll zoom you guys in so you can see where I'm poking around. Okay, I got a 5 thousandths feeler gauge for right now, and I'm pretty sure that's not even going to fit in here. No, I don't even have 5 thousandths clearance on that exhaust valve, so that's where all my compression is going. It's going right out this exhaust valve, and I'm sure part of the compression is going out this intake because these intakes usually have a little bit of a decompression. I can't even get 5 thousandths in on the intake side either. And let's see. That's compression, that's combustion. So yeah, I'm in the right spot, and I don't have any clearance in here whatsoever. Oh, wait a minute. I got 5,000 on the exhaust now. And lost it. I did have it. Yeah, right there. And then I lost it. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, you can hear it click when I take the 5 thousandths out. So, yeah, there's something going on with that clearance. It's not right. So we're going to have to fix that. And unfortunately, that warrants having to take these valves out. I have to see if I have a tool I can grab onto those. The exhaust has a rotator on it, so that one's just got the split keepers on it, but the intake has that, like a notch that it goes onto. So sometimes they're easy, sometimes they're hard. I don't have the the best tool for it. This is technically a tool for a overhead valve engine, but we'll try it on here and see what happens. And to zoom you guys out, or can you see that okay? Yeah, I'll zoom you guys out. There you go. Now you can see the tool. So I'll stick that under there. Is it going to fit? Come on. Is that going to work or not? So I'm hoping that'll pick up that spring. That worked. Now I just got to pop these keepers out. There's one. Come on. The other one's just spinning. It doesn't want to. There we go. Got it now. It'll stop sticking to all the oil and everything. There's the other one. Unlock that. Let the spring go. Take that out. And hopefully this comes out without fighting. You usually come out nice and easy. I don't want to force it and damage the guide. Speaking of the guide, I'm testing the valve for any side to side. It actually is nice and tight. So this shouldn't burn oil at all once we get some clearance on it. How's the valve face look on this? Yeah, this is going to need a valve job. It's pretty well recessed on the valve. Not sure how good I'm going to be able to show that to you guys. Let me get zoomed in. Oh, drop the carb. So, if you look at where that valve seat wears, that shiny spot, you'll see there's a dull spot on the outside lip because it's actually worn into the seat. So if I take my nail and try and rub it on here, there's actually a lip worn into the valve. So the valve's going to need to be cut. One other thing I could do is probably take the valves out of the other engine if they're in better shape. Sorry, let me zoom you back out. But I think I'd rather have a machine shop fix this the right way so it lasts, because every engine, one of these engines you scrap is one less in the world, because they're not going to make any more of these. Emissions doesn't like it. So let's try getting the exhaust one apart now. Should be the same size pretty much. And should come out. This one I might need to get a file in there. No? Coming out without fighting. Intake's pretty good and tight, no issues there. Looks really good actually. So we get these valves out of here. I'm going to have to lift the retainer up over the tappet. Pull it out. Oh. I'm going to try and keep this rotator with the exhaust spring. I'm going to get a zip tie on that so it doesn't get mixed up, because there's different spring tension on the exhaust and intake. So we'll just do that. Then that doesn't get lost. Do the same with the other one. Put a zip tie on it. And that won't get lost. Oh, actually, let's go a little step further. We'll zip tie the springs together. Next level stuff. Ta-da. Okay. So I'm gonna take this blower cover off so when I take it down to the engine shop, it's not in the guy's way when he goes to cut these valves and seats. Then we'll have to continue this video when I get the parts. So same. I'm sure the intake is the same. Yeah, there's a lip worn into it, but not as bad. This one I could probably run. What do you call it? Some lapping compound and get away with it. But if I'm gonna do one valve, I might also do both because it's already a part. Not wasting money on the gaskets for anything in the future. So I'm gonna put all this stuff together into a little hardware bucket, and then I guess I'll leave you guys on for a little bit longer as I tear this apart. Put that in there and get this governor rod off so that doesn't get bent or broken or lost. Put that in there. Got the springs. Got the head bolts all in here. Gotta put that with the carb parts. Gonna try and get this thing teetered here so I can get the blower cover off. Is it going to cooperate with me or is it going to fight? Nope, it's going to cooperate. 7/16 I need. Yes, it is. Boy, this thing's all scratched up on the bottom from being kicked around over the years, even corrosion on the bottom of the engine. I don't know if I had put oil in this engine or not, but I definitely cleaned everything. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, I'll tilt you guys down. I cleaned all this off. There's a bunch of grass and oil all caped up in here from this leak, and I'd already changed that in the past. So we're going to leave the dipstick tube on the blower cover. I should be able to just pop that out. Hopefully I don't get stuck on the starter. Come on. There it goes. What am I getting stuck on? Getting stuck on the flywheel with this one plastic piece, it looks like, so I'm gonna have to take that off. That's 1/4 inch. I should have one here, right there. I was hoping I didn't have to take that off, but I have to. This isn't the quickest, well, I shouldn't say that. This isn't the best way to take an engine apart, but it is the quickest and dirtiest. Sorry if you don't like the longer videos, but some people might actually find this a little more helpful if they're actually working on one of these. I can zoom in, take a screenshot or anything like that. I will tell you, these little tiny 1/4 inch screws you do not want to lose because they are a pain to find something that works, because it's it's got a taper on it. If I can get you in on that. It's got a little shoulder. It's a shoulder bolt, so it's a pain to try and get the exact bolt for that if you lose it. Okay, that's out. What's holding me up now? Okay, just had to slide it off with a 110. Get that out of the way. Got a brand new bindics on it. I probably stuck that on and when I was messing with it. Oh yeah, I think that was broken when I got it. So I'll pop this other cover off so that doesn't get damaged while I'm transporting the engine to the engine shop. Little bolt on the bottom, and there's also some grass in there that needs to be cleaned out. that in there. And we'll get that out of there. Okay. Oh, yep, it's got oil in it. And it's coming out of the valve pocket. So, I was afraid of that. I'm going to put you on pause so I can get the oil out of this thing and not make a huge, gigantic mess, because I'm going to kind of need to take this off somewhere and dump it. It's a shame because it's brand new oil too, but oh well. Okay, here's something you probably haven't seen before, a bit of a hack. This is a metal milk crate. I cut one of the spokes out right here. I'm going to put my crankshaft in right here and let the oil drain. So that's the plan. I've done it before with success, so it should work again. Just like that. I'm gonna grab a block of wood to put underneath there while that's going. If I can find a block of wood, I'm sure there's one somewhere. I think I got one. I'm coming. Oh, come on. There we go. Oh, too far. That's better. Well, let's let that do its thing. Well, that was draining. I popped the flywheel off quick and heat shrinked the wires here. There was one that was pinched at one point. So fixed that. Stuck the valves in it for now. Rigged up what was here for the throttle cable so I can test run it later. Stuck a drain plug into the hole and got rid of the pipe because sometimes the pipes don't fit on some applications. Tried calling the engine shop today and couldn't get a hold of them. So I'll have to drop that off at a machine shop another day. So I gotta set the parts all aside. So what I did is I put them over here. It doesn't rain over here. This is out of the weather a little bit. That one drive pulley I took off from the LT1000 is going to be right there, and all the other engine parts are there. There's some parts inside I'm going to have to take out to my shed from off the scrap engine. And then, actually, I think I'm going to work on these while you're here. I was looking at this carburetor that came off the one engine, and there's a lot of corrosion in that brass seat for the float needle, and including this one steel plate is really rusty. This one still really clean, so I think I'm going to rebuild this one that came off the scrap engine. So just because an engine is seized doesn't mean you can't use it for parts. So that's the direction I'm going to go with that. I'm going to rebuild that, but before I start rebuilding that, I'm going to get this apart for if I ever hear back from the machine shop guy, I can have him inspect these two shafts. So once I get ready to start cleaning the carburetor and putting that together, I'll turn the video on. Well, I got the engine back from the machine shop. Just thought I'd let you guys know that the shorter, heavier spring goes on the exhaust side, and the lighter, longer spring goes on the intake side. And you have that little flat retainer that goes on the intake side, and then the larger valve rotator goes on the exhaust side. I got all the gasket surface cleaned up, so I can put my head gasket on. The head gasket's been cleaned, at least with a scraper. I have a new head gasket to put on it, somewhere around here. Right here. Got a new head gasket for it. I actually cleaned the carburetor that came off the parts engine because that didn't have as much corrosion on it. And I used little cotton Q-tips to polish up the seat. I got one right here. Let me grab it. I just took one of these, put it in a drill, and then ran that in the brass seat to polish it up so I didn't have to change it. And I have a new gasket for here somewhere. I'll find it. And then I'll start showing you how all these linkages go together. So we got to put one bolt in here for the carburetor. Okay, I got the kill wire in that retainer where it needs to be. And these gaskets are actually thicker. They're an aftermarket one. They look like they're 15 thousandths thick instead of like 8 or 10. So I just went with the one gasket because it's more than thick enough to seal this one, I'm pretty sure. This one's not bent too bad, but I have had some that were bent bad where I would need 2 of the OEM gaskets. So I'm going to get those tight, and this is going to sit down on the bottom, I believe. I don't know if it goes forward, backwards, or we'll figure that out when we get to it. And then I need a bolt for here. And I need the rods that go in here. And there's going to be one for the choke. It's going to need to go in. Okay, I got to hook up the governor linkage to the rod first. And I'm going to put that dampener spring into that hole first. And then I can put that Z-bend into the slot of the governor arm. Okay, now this one's a little bit hard to see, especially the wiring in the way, but there's a slot back there that this goes into. Right there. And that's going to hook up into the choke. And there's a little finger right here that comes down and goes into that slot and pulls it. So I'll show you when you see how it's going to come down, and it's going to grab this choke rod. And it should pull it. Kind of hard to see. See if I can get the light in there for you so you can see it. Right there. And then I'll pull the choke closed. So that's where that goes. So we can put that onto the carburetor first. For when we go to bolt it on with a new gasket. And this is the gasket that goes right here, I believe. Yep. It's important they have the correct gasket because this helps keep the airflow going down around the exhaust like it's supposed to be. Okay, so you can see where the governor links up right there with the dampener spring. And you can see the choke S-bend right there. You can see the crankcase vent there. And you can see how it goes into the slot back there. So I'm going to hook up that vent tube. And then you want to make sure that choke rod is in place where it needs to be. And then I'm going to need another hand to put the gasket into place. And then I can start putting the bolts in. And then you can see there's another bolt slot down there you gotta line up. So that's about where it's all going to sit. And you can see how the linkages all hook up. Okay, it's all hooked up now. You can see the governor's working now. And not sure if I'm going to be able to get this all in shot, but you can see the little choke flap in the intake. You can see how that grabs and turns the choke on. So that's all working. And then I think this one has the kill set up on the tractor. It's not set up on here, so you would ground this out to kill it, and then you'd have accessories run to here. So when your key is in the run position, it's charging your battery. And this regulates your voltage to your battery. You don't need a diode in this one because the diodes are built into the regular, so this will be pretty easy to wire into any tractor. Now I can put the exhaust on, and then the head and blower cover. So I'm getting there, and then I got to put oil in it. Pretty confident it's going to run pretty good because the carburetor was actually really clean on it. Didn't have a lot of debris in it, hardly at all. Versus the one that was on here, which was pretty badly rusted. Okay, this one is a Model 28. So on this one, the head bolts are torqued to 185 inch-pounds. And there's a note saying that this torque spec varies depending on size of bolts. But I imagine you could probably torque these ones since they're a half inch, like a heavier bolt. They're not like the small 3/8. These are probably similar torque spec, but you would have to look that up. I'm going to put a little picture on screen of the torque specs for, well, common torque specs for Briggs & Stratton engines. So anyone that might have hopped across the video, they'll be able to see some basic information. It'll be easier to find instead of trying to go online. So you'll notice there's L heads, flat heads, and overheads, and then the model is related to displacement, and that's related to horsepower. So the more displacement, the more horsepower. Now, the next thing I'm going to want to do with this is I want to get a piece of cardboard. I want to cut out the hole, and I want to mark where these engine mount bolt holes are at. I want to transfer these onto a frame, a metal frame, so we can test run. So I can test run this engine. So let me get that all marked out, and then I'll bring over the test stand we're going to put it on. Okay, I got my template. You can see I got one hole there, so on and so forth. It all matches what's on the engine. So let's take a note of which side the engine is on the cardboard, and then which side the cylinder is on. And then I can set it on a old pressure washer frame. These tires are non-pneumatic, they're just solid plastic, so I never have to worry about keeping tires aired up on that. And I just set that there, use that hole, and then marked the other 3 holes, and then I have this spot where I gotta drill it out, or make a big hole for the crankshaft to go out the bottom, and there's plenty of room under here for a 3-inch crankshaft. I do have to watch out for that frame though. Now that I'm seeing that, we might need to move that a little bit. Yeah, we'll have to see if I can't move that to clear that. I didn't know that was under there until just now, but yeah, you get the idea. Okay, I got it all together. Got my 7/16 in, got my carburetor good and tight. Checked all my linkages. I just hooked up the fuel, so we're going to check for any leaks. I got my cover on with a 2/4 inch, and you can see this is all buttoned together. The bolt that was on the bottom is good and tight. Should be really close to time for a test run, but I got to put some oil in it first. Once I get the oil in, I'll let you guys know how much it takes. And I'm obviously going to use AMS oil, small engine oil, to top it off. And then I'm going to tilt the engine to one side to get some oil up in the valve pocket. Okay, it took 1.5 quarts to fill it up. And I know it's kind of hard to see in there, but there's no gas dripping out of the carburetor. I just need to grab a battery and hook up to the starter and see what it goes. I do have to get some oil up in the valve pocket, which is, well, actually I can just do that on camera. Just gotta tilt it like this. Now I'll get plenty of oil up into the upper end of the motor. Hopefully it didn't leak any gas, but I think it'll be fine. Let me get a battery and set you guys on a tripod, and we'll see if this thing fires up. Okay. I already have my jumper cables hooked up to the battery, and the positive is on my starter. I like to go to the ground to jump it. That way I don't burn the nut for the starter. I have to hold this throttle cable for choke. Make sure you watch your hands on the blower or the cooling screen, and we'll see what happens. I just gotta stick the air filter on and make sure it still runs the same. So I'm gonna do that off camera quick. Just thought I'd show you guys. You gotta put this air filter on first with these smaller nuts. Then this goes on top. It's supposed to anyway. There it goes. And then these aluminum ones go on top of that. Look at that, still has all the original service information on it. All in all, this engine's pretty nice. Didn't smoke, doesn't knock, it's nice and quiet. Runs smooth. Gonna be a very good engine for whoever needs it. I'm gonna probably look into getting my tachometer and see what RPMs it's running at and then tune it accordingly. Try and get it around 35, 50 RPMs. I'm probably gonna have to tweak the governor a little bit, but not much. So yeah, it's coming along pretty good. I'm going to say it's ready to put up for sale. No more issues. It's all fixed. So, yeah, start to finish. You got a sump gasket, shaft seal, grommet for the dipstick, head gasket, valve job, carb cleaning, and I think that does it. So we'll put this thing up for sale and so you go to a good home. I imagine it'll last a couple decades if it's well taken care of for it, because these things are pretty bulletproof. And like I said before, having the extra synchro balanced engine, having the extra synchro balance weight is nice. So it's going to run a lot smoother than some engines out there. And it's a really compact 12 horsepower engine, 28 cubic inch. It's pretty spunky, revs up pretty quick. Anyway, if you like the video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.